Parashat Lech Lecha Tuf Shiyim Paivuv B'Siyata Dishmaya. The Torah starts that Hashem tells Avraham Avinu, one of the Asara Nisyonis, he should leave behind his land where he was brought up, where he was born, his father's family, the whole family, and he should go to a land, Asher Eko. He doesn't even tell him where to go. Hashem wanted to give him more schar, so that makes the Nesoin even harder. That when you leave, sometimes it's very hard to leave a place where you're so settled in, but at least you know where you're heading to. When you don't even know where you're heading to, it's very, very hard. But when you do it for serving Hashem, out of love of Hashem, so that was one of the Asara Nisyonis. And the pasuk goes on, and Hashem tells him, "V'nivrechi v'cha koil mishpachois u'adoma." What's the definition of those words? Everybody is going to bless himself in you. V'nivrechu v'cha koil mishpachois u'adoma. And Rashi explains, the Pashat Pshat means that a person is going to tell a son, I wish you should be like Avraham Avinu. Adam oimel evnoi teheka Avraham. So every person is going to bless himself that he wants his children should be like you. V'nivrechu v'cha koil mishpachois u'adoma. I want to start with a little joke, but it's not such a joke. Someone explained once, why Taki should every father wish his son he should be like Avraham? Why not be like Yitzchok, be like Yaakov, Reuven, Shimon, the Shvatim? Why only Avraham? He said, Gewaldig. If a father is going to come to his son and tell him, I want you to be like Yitzchok, like Yaakov, like the Shvatim, the son could answer him, Father, you want me to be like Yitzchok? Yitzchok had the father, Avraham Avinu. Yaakov had the father, Yitzchok. Who are you? How do you look? But if a father wishes his son should be like Avraham, he's beseder, because whereas in Terach he is not. And if Terach had the son like Avraham, he could also ask for it, that he should have a boy, that his son should be like Avraham. So that's why Daike take Avraham, because in that case, even though he's not a big tzaddik, he could wish himself and he could ask for that his son should be a tzaddik. Rashi explains one of the pshatim. What's v'eschol agoy godoil v'avarechecho v'agad lo shemecho? The first pshat Rashi explains that Hashem is telling him, giving him 3 brachos. Usually when you wander around, you lose those 3 things. And over here, you're not going to be losing, you're just going to be gaining all of those 3 things. Usually when you wander around, you can't make business, you don't have money. Usually people don't know about you. You leave the place where you lived all the years, where you were settled, and now you're wandering around. People don't know you. And also you can't bring children in such a way. And Hashem is promising Avraham Avinu, Lech Lecha, and you won't miss out. You're going to have a lot of children. You're going to have children Bechlal. Till then, he didn't have children. He's going to have a Yitzchok. Then, you're going to make a lot of money. And everybody's going to know about you. I'm going to make you famous. Then Rashi explains another pshat. This is what we say by davening Elokei Avraham. You say by davening Elokei Yitzchok. We say by davening Elokei Yaakov. Now I would think Rashi goes on that when you finished the first bracha of Shemoneh Esrei, you're going to finish Mogen Avraham Yitzchok veYaakov. Talmud Loimer v'Yei bracha. You're going to be the bracha that when you finish, by the end of the bracha, you just say Mogen Avraham. You don't say Mogen Avraham Yitzchok veYaakov. V'Yei bracha. So I want to share a shtickle. Halacha di geshtikl. There's a halacha, a Gemara Masechta Brachas Daf Mem. Rav and Rabbi Yochanan argue on every bracha. Rav says a bracha that you don't mention Hashem's name, Baruch Atah, and you don't say Hashem, is not considered a bracha. Kol bracha she'ein b'haskaras Hashem ein a bracha. Rabbi Yochanan adds, he says, we need more than that. We need Shem and Malchus. You should say Baruch Atu Hashem Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam. If a bracha doesn't have Shem and Malchus, it's not considered a bracha. We pass like this, that a bracha needs to have Shem and Malchus. Tosfos over there, brachas daf mem amud beis. Tosfos asks, all brachas have Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam, but Shemoneh Esrei starts Baruch Atu Hashem Elokeinu ve'Elokei Aviseinu, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchok, Elokei Yaakov. But we don't mention melech ha'olam. It only has Shem. It doesn't have Malchus. Now we see a lot of times brachas that start without Shem and Malchus, but the reason is because they are bracha smucha lechaberta. When a bracha is close to a bracha before, you don't have to start like the whole Shemoneh Esrei. You don't start even Baruch Ato, because Ato Gibor, every bracha Ato Kadosh, Ato Chayne, all of those brachas are connected to the first bracha of Shemoneh Esrei. So if they're connected to the first bracha, is enough that the first bracha had Shem U'Malchus, and all others, we see this a lot of times that even by Birchas, by a chuppah. So a lot of the brachas don't start like Soistosi Sameach, the Samach, because they're all smucha to the bracha that was said before. But the first one at least has Shem U'Malchus. Also when it comes to the Haftorah, we have a lot of brachas that don't start with a new Baruch Atu Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam, because they're all smucha lechaverta. But when it comes over here to Shemoneh Esrei, at least the first bracha should have Malchus, and over here the first bracha only has Elokeinu ve'Elokei Aviseinu, Elokei Avraham. Tosfos answers, when you say Elokei Avraham, you're actually saying melech ha'olam, because that was Avraham Avinu announcing and spreading out that Hashem created everything. He is the one he's the boss. My people used to come and eat by him. They used to ask him after eating, how much do we have to pay? What's the bill? And he used to say, you don't have to pay. You just have to bless and remember the one who gave you his food, who is the one. He used to explain to them that Hashem, he gave us everything, and he used to thank Hashem. And that's how he made so many people should become Geirim. I once saw interesting Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer says, in the beginning we see in Chazal and Medrash that Avraham Avinu, when he was by his father Terach, he became so angry that people were worshipping idols, Avodah Zorahs, dining Avodah Zorah, that he took once a hammer, or how do you call it? An axe. And he slammed and he smashed all the Avodah Zorahs. We don't see afterwards that he did this. He went afterwards to Ahron, then he went to Eretz Yisrael, and we don't hear him, Avraham Avinu, going around and smashing Avodah Zorahs. The Chassam Sofer says that Avraham Avinu wanted to be Mekarav Yidden on another way, by getting them closer to Hashem, by the Midas HaChesed. That was his real Midah, Avraham Avinu, Midas HaChesed. And that's how he tried to be Mekarav Yiddische Kinder. And in that case, if you go around smashing Avodah Zorahs, people don't really connect to you, and you can't be the Mekarav to Hashem Yisborach. When he was in Ur Kasdim, where his father was living, the bad over there was so strong, the Ra. People were so connected to the Ra. From Avinu saw he can't pull them away. So at least I could do Sur Meira, I could break down with the Zorahs. But when he's on his way to Eretz Yisrael, and he understood that over here in Eretz Yisrael, or even on the way to Eretz Yisrael, he could convince people in a good way that they should come closer to Hashem and be megared themselves. He rather did it this way than going and smashing and breaking all the Avodah Zorahs. So we mentioned that Tosfos explains that when that we say by davening Elokei Avraham, that means melech ha'olam. That's considered Malchus, because he was the first that was spreading out that Hashem is melech ha'olam. There were tzaddikim before, but the first one that made Hashem should be mefursim, should be known in the world, was Avraham Avinu. So by saying Elokei Avraham, you're saying Malchus. Now there's a siddur, a sefer called Perushay Atfilos, from one of the Rishonim, Rabbi Yehuda bar Rabbi Yokar. One of the Rishonim, he brings a gewaltige chiddush. He says we see in halacha that we have to be soimer geula letfilah. That means by Shachrus we finish Gal Yisrael, and we should start right away after Birchas Krish, also by Ma'ariv. We are soimer geula letfilah. By Ma'ariv we say Gal Yisrael. We say Ashkiveinu. The Gemara explains that Ashkiveinu is not a hefsek. and then it goes right away to the Shemoneh Esrei. Shachris we say Goal Yisurim, we start Shemoneh Esrei. So once you have to be Soimer Gilel Tefillah, he explains the Rishon Rabbi Yehuda ben Rabbi Yakar that the Baruch Atu Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam of Birchas Krishma, that's really the first bracha, and all the other brachas are Smucha Lechavarta. Ahavu Rabba doesn't start with a Baruch Atu because it's connected to the first bracha of Birchas Krishma. And after Krishma, it also doesn't start with a Baruch. We say V'yatze v'nochoy v'emuna kol zois, then Ashkeveinu at night. So all of those are connected to the first bracha of Birchas Krishma. And the whole Shemoneh Esrei is also connected to that, because we have to be Soimer Gulel Tefillah. So that's why the Baruch Atu Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam of Maariv Arovim, or from Yoitzeroid in the morning, that's really the first bracha that has Shemim Malchus. All others are Semucha Lechavarta. That's how he explains. Now he asks a Gewaltige Kasha, what's with Mincha? Oh, Meile by Shachris, we finish Gal Yisurim Soimer Gulel Tefillah. By Ma'ariv also, but by Mincha we say Ashrei and we start Shemoneh Esrei. So we don't have a Baruch Atu Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam over there before. And if you say that the Melech Haolam is not Elokei Avraham, it's the Melech Haolam is the Melech Haolam of the Birchas Krishma. So he says, Loi Plug. That's the way how we set it up on Shachris and Ma'ariv. We leave the same way by Mincha also. Loi Plug. It's interesting, Teretz, but that's how he says.
Doesn't everyone point out that you say Melech Oizeh and Moshe again? Part of the bracha.
You want to say that by the end of the bracha you say Melech Oizeh and Mashiach again.
So,
but really it should really start with a Shem Malchus. You say that the beginning of the bracha it could be starting. It's a good order, and I want to say something about this. Remind me in another minute. In Yerushalmi, the Yerushalmi brings down from where do we know that a bracha needs Shem Malchus? The Bavli brings down a pasuk Lo yavarti mitzvasecha v'lo shachachti. From there we learned that I didn't forget to mention your name when I made the bracha Shem Malchus. The Yerushalmi brings down the pasuk that we say in Ashrei Aremimcha Elokai HaMelech V'avorcha Shimcha La'olam V'oed. So when I say a bracha V'avorcha Shimcha La'olam V'oed, I praise. How do you say Aremimcha in English? I'm lifting. Yeah. Aremimcha, I'm lifting Elokai HaMelech. So we mention Shem Malchis, and that's the way how V'avorcha Shimcha, how we make a bracha. That's what the Yerushalmi says. That's the Mekoyer. Now, interesting. The Bir Alocha and Ilchas Brachas, the Mishnah Brura and the Sefer Bir Alocha Siman Reishi Dalet, he brings down that there's a Shita of the Evan of Oizer that he asks, do we have to say for Shem Malchis Melech Oilam, or it's enough if you say Melech, the king, without saying the king of the whole universe, not saying Melech Oilam, if Melech alone is enough. So the Evan of Oizer claims that Melech alone is enough. Says the Mishnah Brura and Bir Alocha that L'choira from this Yerushalmi could be a raya, because in the pasuk it says Aremimcha Elokai HaMelech. It doesn't say Melech Haolam. It just says Elokai HaMelech V'avorcha Shimcha La'olam V'oed. So in that case, is Reb David Yeshua right? If we mentioned by the end of the bracha Melech Oizeh Moshiach Imogain, so we mentioned that Hashem is Melech. But the Bir Alocha says maybe it's not a raya from the Yerushalmi, because when you say HaMelech, you mean to say the known king. That's Hashem Yisbarach. When you say Melech alone, maybe it's not enough. So that's why the Evan Oizer that holds that Melech alone is enough, you can't bring a raya from Yerushalmi, because in Yerushalmi the pasuk says Elokai HaMelech. HaMelech refers to Hashem Yisbarach. Melech alone, maybe you have to add Melech Oilam. So if that's the case, so maybe Melech Oizer and Mashiach Mogen won't be enough. We need Elokei Avraham, that he was Melech Oilam spreading out the Malchus, or it's Smucha Lechavarta to the Birchas Krishma. I just want to say, so according to this Yerushalmi, maybe we could explain Mincha also, because we usually say Ashrei before Mincha. That's the way. And how do we start Ashrei? Aremimcha Elokai HaMelech V'avorcha Shimcha La'olam V'oed. So maybe that mentioning Shem Malchus Aremimcha Elokai HaMelech before Mincha is like connected to the bracha. Maybe, and he could maybe we say all together what he mentioned, Melech Oizer and Mashiach again, and over here we say HaMelech, so we know which Melech, the Melech HaYadua, Hashem Yisborach, HaMelech. Now, another Knaich we could say, why Elekei Avram is Malchus? Toyse says because he was Media, he made known Hashem's name in the whole world. We could also say Elekei Avram refers the way how Avram Avinu served Hashem. What was his way? We mentioned before, the Midas HaChesed. Not only did he serve Hashem, in the Medrash it says the whole Midas HaChesed was Mizgalgal Ba'olam B'schus Avram. In his years, the reason why there was Chesed on this world, Avram used and he served Hashem by this midah. He was drawing this midah down into the world, and that's how Midas HaChesed was Mizgalgal Ba'olam B'schus from Avram Avinu. Now we see in Gemara that Malchus is Pshat. The definition of Malchus is giving and not getting. A melech is a person that is a giver. Sometimes we are used to think that a melech, everybody gives him, he's the one that gets. But the idea of Malchus is giving. He doesn't need anything, he is only a Hamashpia. That's the midah of Malchus. We see it even in the Gemara in Igla. The Gemara in Masechta Nedarim says, when a person says to his friend, you know what? I don't want you to have any anoah from me. I want you to be mudar anoah. How do you say it in English? Mudar anoah, kilu, and that you can't have anything getting from me.
Benefit.
You can't benefit anything from me. You are a mudar anoah, but I do want to benefit from you, but you shouldn't be benefiting from me. So he tells his friend, Ato mudir anoah memeni. I make you mudir anoah from me, but on the opposite way, he doesn't say it. So the Gemara says the person could come to that person and tell him, the one that's the mudar anoah could come to the person that was a mother and say, Lav malkano, I am not a king. Da'at mishanis minoi, you're going to benefit from me. Vanu lo yeshanis minoch, and I won't benefit from you. What am I, a king? So he could have this time and tell him, or you take away the nether that you made that I can't benefit from you, or you know what, I'm going to put back on you also a nether that you should benefit from me. I can't leave it this way. And he could have this time with Igayon, with Tzeichel. He could come to him and tell him, I can't understand you. You should be able to benefit from me, and I shouldn't be benefiting from you. Why am I a king? What do you think? So we see from this Gemara that a king is the one that he's not interested in benefiting from the others. He's only the one giving out. And this person says, I am not a king. So what do you see? What's a king? A king is the one that others are benefiting from him, and he is not taking from anyone. So we see that this is Malchus. Malchus is the idea that's even more the Mefarshim explained. We come Rosh Hashanah Yom HaKodesh and we scream out, HaMelech! By davening. Why are we screaming HaMelech? We mean to say to Hashem Yisborach, look, maybe you weren't benefiting a lot from us during the year, but we want to benefit from you. You are the one of the Melech. Melech is the one that gives even if he's not getting. So maybe you weren't getting so much from us during the year, but still you give us because you are a Melech. So if that's the idea of Elekei Avram refers to the midah that Avram was drawing down from Hashem Yisborach Kavyochol, the midahs of Chesed, of giving, that's Malchus. So that's why Elekei Avram is considered Malchus, because that midah of Avram Avinu, that's the idea of Malchus, giving even without getting anything back. And that's why we mention a lot in that bracha, the first bracha, Goimel Chasodim Toivim, Zoicher Chasdei Ovois. We speak a lot about the midah of Chesed, of Avram Avinu, because that's the bracha of Morgan Avram, the Elekei Avram. That's the Malchus. The pasuk says after Hashem told Avram Avinu that he should leave, he should let go his whole family and the land where he was still then. Pasuk says, "Vayelech Avram ka'asher diber elav Hashem." Vayelech itoy Lot. Lot went together with him. And the pasuk goes on and tells us, you should know Avram Avinu was then 75 years old. Avram ben Chomesh Shanim b'shivim Shanim b'tzeisem Ahron. When he left Choron, he was 75 years old. The Chassam Sofer explains, what does the pasuk have to tell us how old he was? And why Dafke now, when he mentions that Lot came together with him? The Chassam Sofer says the pasuk wants to explain. Avram Avinu is leaving his whole mishpacha. So he's doing it because he has a tzivu of Hashem, Lech Lecha ma'artzecha. It's one of the Asar and Nisyonis. But what's the idea of a Lot coming together with him? Why are you leaving your whole mishpacha? Your father, your uncles, your mother, your zayde, the whole mishpacha. You don't have a tzivu from Hashem that you should go Lech Lecha ma'artzecha. Why did Lot come together with him? What was the? And they don't even know where they're heading to. El Haaretz Asher Areka, where I'm going to show you. Says the Chassam Sofer. Lot had other intentions, and the reason why he was going along with Avraham Avinu. He knew that Avraham Avinu, he's going to become famous. He was a known person. He could make a lot of money, and he's an old guy already. And his aunt Sarah is also not young. One of the days they're going to probably pass away, and who's going to be Yoidish? Who's going to get everything that they have? The nephew that's going to be around them, he's going to be the one. So the pasuk says, "Vayelech Avram." Avram Avinu went because Hashem told him, "Kash divrei elav Hashem." Vayelech itay Lot. That's a kasha. Why did Lot go together with him? And the pasuk goes on and explains, you know why? Because Avram was ben Chomesh v'shivim shana. He was already 75 years old, and he was already getting old. Lot made the cheshbon. It pays to be around such an uncle. Whatever happens, I'm going to be the one to put my hands on whatever I need. So that's why he came together. That's how the Chassam Sofer explains. And I thought you could add on this a gewaltige Zach. The pasuk goes on. Right a pasuk afterwards, Vayikach Avram. Avram took along with him when he left as Sarai Ishtoi, his wife Sarai, Ves Lot, and Lot ben Ochiv, his nephew. Why does he mention Lot was his nephew? Lot was also his brother-in-law. He was a brother of Sarah. He was actually also a nephew because Haran and Avram were brothers, and Lot and Sarai were children of Haran. But why, when he wants to explain a reason why he's coming along, so he's taking his wife, it's only more normal to understand the reason why he's coming along because he is a brother-in-law of Avraham Avinu, a brother of Sarai, than mentioning that he was a nephew of Avraham Avinu. But if the reason, if his intentions were being the Yoidish, Yarshaning, whatever is going to be left after Avraham Avinu, so to Yoidish, if he's the brother-in-law, he's the brother of the wife, there's no din of Yerusha. But being a nephew, over there, when they don't have children, so the pasuk mentions that Avraham Avinu understood the reason why Lot wants to come together with him. When he took Lot, he didn't take him as a brother-in-law, he took him as a nephew, because he understood what his kavanah, and even though he didn't push him away, he took a Sarai Ishtoi, his wife Sarai, and he doesn't say he took also along her brother Lot, a brother-in-law, her brother. He took Lot as Ben Ochiv, as his brother's son, because he was a nephew, because that was his kavanah, why he came along. He should be able to get whatever is going to be left after Avram is going to pass away. Now we see a gewaltiger Rechaim HaKadosh. I have to say it over inside 2 shiras. It's mamish gewaltig. We know that the Rechaim HaKadosh, it said that he didn't have children. Some claim that he did have daughters. Only boys he didn't have. It's not clear. Some say that he didn't have any children, and he put in his koyach of having children in his sefer. That's why people who learn the sefer see gewaldige Yeshuas with having children, but actually not only having children, whatever you need. People who make a kriyas to learn his sefer, a shtikela every day or once a week on Shabbos, a pasuk or 2, see gewaldige Yeshuas by learning a Rechaim HaKadosh. And not only Yeshua's begashmias, even beruchnias. Maybe I mentioned it once, that there was in the shtetl, I heard so, in the square shtetl. It's a new square in America, not far from Monsey, Spring Valley, there's new square. Years ago, when they opened this village, the new square, the shtetl, there was a bocher in yeshiva that he was starting to drop out. And he wasn't fitting into the yeshiva. I don't know how far he went already, but it was pretty not a good matziv. And the yeshiva didn't know what to do with him. And also the father and mother and the mishpacha didn't know they should leave him at home to kick him out from the yeshiva, send him away, because he was disturbing others. And he was like influencing others, bad influence. So they came to the Skvera Rebbe Zechlein de Levrocha, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, and they told him, Rebbe, we tried already everything. With good, with bad, nothing works. What should we do? Could we expel him from the yeshiva? And the parents were asking, should we leave him at home? Or maybe he could have bad influence on the other siblings. What should we do? The Skvera Rebbe listened to them, and then he mentioned the gewaltige Zach. Before he gives an answer, he still wants they should make one try out. People were thinking maybe, he says, we should try to ask him for a small thing. Now, usually you could think maybe he's going to ask him to put on tefillin every day because he wasn't putting on tefillin anymore. Or to eat Shabbos. Shabbos? No, he didn't ask for this. He said maybe a person should try to convince him every day to learn a shtikl or a Chaim HaKodesh. Try, do the effort and try this to make this happen. Now they took a person that he was trying every day. Maybe he come. I'm not asking you for anything. Come and learn 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a shtikl or a Chaim HaKodesh. And they were doing this for a while. And Baruch Hashem, in today's days, he lives in the shtetl, and he has a beautiful family, all ehrlich and chassidish, charedim, shomer Torah mitzvahs. Or a Chaim HaKodesh is like, how do you call it? When you clean something, once it used to be St. Moritz or something, fantastic, whatever you want to call it, it cleans out the neshama. It has the Holy Original said, if in the older days learning Zohar HaKodesh was metar the neshama, in today's days learning Orach Chaim HaKodesh is metar the nefesh. It cleans out the nefesh. So that's a gewaldige koich to learn Orach Chaim HaKodesh. So the Orach Chaim HaKodesh goes and he explains that when Hashem tells Avraham Avinu, when he comes in already to Eretz Yisrael, and Hashem tells him, Vayeru Hashem al Avram, and he tells him, Lezaracha etin es ha'oretz hazois. In those few words, he gets two good besiris. How do you say a besura in English? Besura tova. What? Again? News, yeah? He gets two news. First, that he's going to be having children, and then that they're going to be getting Eretz Yisrael. The Zaracha etin es ha'oretz hazois. So he has two good besuros that he got. And the Pasuk says, Avram went and he built the Mizbeach. Vayiven sham Mizbeach, Lashem hanira elov. To Hashem that showed himself to him. So the Chaim HaKodesh explains, what does the Pasuk want to say, Lashem hanira elov? It refers to explain that we should understand Avraham Avinu he was excited that he got the news that he's going to be having children, and they are going to be yarshnik, and they're going to be getting Eretz Yisrael is going to become theirs. But even more than that, what made him happy was that Hashem showed himself to him. So Vayiven Sham Mizbeach, the reason why he built the Mizbeach wasn't because of the two good besiras that he got. Lashem anira elov. Now listen to what he's saying. He says, Gewaldig de Losh Dailig Orach Chaim HaKodesh. Kan Pirish, he explains, the Pasuk explains, Sibas Simchosoi, the reason of the Simcha of Avraham Avinu, that because of that reason, he built the Mizbeach. And that was Litzad, because Heira Oso Yizborach Elov, Hashem showed himself to him. V'hovein. Now he goes on and he says, V'zeh Ois Lebonov, and this Pasuk is a simon for his children. Kamo there were so many of them, Asher Hirchiki, Cheshek Azera, that they even distanced, and they weren't even have such a big cheshek to bring children against Be'erech Cheshek HaTorah v'Amitzvos. Avraham Avinu was able to have such a niklech that their cheshek, their desire, their love to serve Hashem by learning Torah and doing mitzvahs was bigger and stronger than the desire of having children. And we see the Gemara says, Ben Azai once says, they asked Ben Azai, why don't you marry a wife? Why don't you bring children? And Ben Azai answered, I can't. My love to Torah is so strong, I can't do anything else. From where did he get this gewaltige cheshik to Torah mitzvahs? From this Avraham Avinu vayivashom izbeach Lashem Anir Eilov. That was by him the biggest zach. Lashem Anir Eilov. I'm for a minute going to the little bit by the end of the parsha, that when Hashem Yisborach tells Avraham Avinu that he's going to be zoiche to bear children from Sarah Emenu, and Avraham Avinu in the beginning says, how does he say to Hashem Yisborach? He tells, Lu Yishmoel Yichye Lefonecha, and the definition is Halavai. After he had already Yishmael, and Hashem tells him that he's going to be zoiche to have Yitzchok, and he says, Vayipol Avraham al Ponov, and he says, Elu Elikim, Lu Yishmael Yichya Lefonecha. Halavai, that Yishmael should be living. I'm not worth to get more than that. I should be able to have another child, Yitzchok. So I once said, it's a little bit of a joke, but it's Hashem. First, we have to understand. They say in the name of Reb Shilei Diskin, before Yishmael was born, so the Malach tells Hagar, you should know, go back to Sarai, and I'm going to give you a child, and he is going to be a para Adam. He is going to be a para Adam, wild person. Para means mufra. He's like out of the not normal. He is a para Adam. So Reb Shilei Diskin asks. Usually, first you say what the person's toyar. What do you say? Toyar is like
His title.
Yeah, his title. Then you add his like what his
description.
His description, like it says always Ish hu Adomo. So we say lechoid it should say on Yishmael he is a Adam Pere. He is a person that's a mufra, that he's like Pere. Why does it say Pere Adam? So if she like this, the Torah teaches us Yishmael is Pere. He's no human being. He's not a normal person. He's not. He looks like an Adam. A description is that he looks like an Adam, but be'etzem he's Pere. It's not Adam Pere. He's Pere Adam. His toyar, his title is Pere, and his description is that he's Adam.
In English, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it says you're a bad person.
You don't say person.
Yeah.
You don't
it's
say.
It's a huge issue with English because it focuses on the differentiation. It focuses on how different you are from everyone else, as opposed to how you are the same.
So in Lashon Kodesh you say Ben Adam Tov, Ben Adam Ra. Right. So you say first that he's a person, correct, and then if he's good or bad, but you say in English you say a bad person or a good person. Correct. You know, by other things also. Stop, if you're mentioning, we see by Sfira Sawoimer that when you tzayil Sfira, so let's say when it's 15 days, we say Hayoim Chamishu Asar Yomim, 10 days, and La'oimer, and or by 45 Chamisha Va'aboim Yoim, and the Shulchan Aruch brings down the reason why, because derech tzachas lashon kodesh, the right way of speaking lashon kodesh, that you say the small number, then the big number. Now the halacha is that you could tzayil sfira, you could count sfira b'chol lashon. So when you say it in English, when you say in Yiddish is this also. You say when you say 45, you say finev and fertzik, chamisha v'arboim. But in English, you don't say 5 and 40, you say 45. So probably if you have to count in English, you shouldn't say 5 and 40, you have to say 45. So you see, because every place you have to say what's the derech tzachis of that language. So I want to go back. So Avraham Avinu asks Hashem, Lu Yishmael Yichya Lefanecha. So I once heard someone saying that he was actually asking Hashem, Halavai, give it that Yishmael should want to live. because he saw that what's going to be all the suicides. So they don't even want to live. Lu Yishmael Yichya Lefanecha, put it into him that he should have a cheshik and a rotzen to live. In that case, so many Yidden are going to be saved. Just put it into him. Lu Yishmael Alavai, he should want to stay alive. Lu Yishmael Yichya Lefanecha. There's a nice remes regarding the Indian of Shalom and Achdis. In this week's Parsha, it says like this, that Avram Avinu told Lot, we have to separate one of the other. He pored no lie. Why? Because they were starting to fight. They were starting to fight Lot, and actually not Lot alone, it was the Roye, Vahiriv. There was a fight between the Roye Miknei Avram and the Roye Miknei Lot, and Avram Avinu didn't want the fight should become more and even worse. If I'm not mistaken, last year we spoke about it and we mentioned that if you see in the Psukim, there's an interesting Shloah Kodesh. It starts Vahiriv, Ben Roye Miknei Avram, Ben Roye Miknei Lot. The shepherds of Avram and Lot were fighting, and Avram tells Lot, Al noti mariva beini veinecha. What's in the beginning Riv, and then he's saying mariva. So the Shloah Kodesh says Riv is a lashon zachor, mariva is a lashon nekeva. So he says like this: a fight could start, but sometimes it could be a small fight, and you think, all right, it won't become any worse. But as time is going on and you don't stop the fight, it becomes stronger and bigger, it expands. In the beginning there was no fight between Avram and Lot, only between the Roye Avram and Roye Lot. But Avram really understood that it won't take long if they won't stop it at time. The fight is going to expand, and and this is what he's saying, Al noti mariva beini veinecha. I don't want this fight should reach between me and you. And that's Meriva. Meanwhile, you look at it as a Riv. Vahi Riv, not gefährlich. The shepherds of Avram, shepherds of Lot, they're not in good terms, one with the other. They are fighting. But we two, we are very good together. But this Riv could become a Meriva. And it could expand even more, and that's what I don't want. Al noti mariva beini v'necha. So that's why he poured no me'elai. Let's separate one of the other. I even said last year, I remember that even I think maybe Toby Krom, he called me afterwards to ask me who says it, and I don't remember from whom I saw it. Maybe I can't remember now. That I said that there's a lashon toile eretz al belima, and the Gemara says. Who gives kiyum for the world? A person that has the koyach, that has the ability to be boilem as piv, to shut his mouth b'shas mariva, even when there is a fight. And that's a gewaldige schus, toile eretz. He gives kiyum for the whole world. Hashem hangs the world on the schus of whom? Al belima. Poshet pshat means al belima means Hashem holds the world on nothing. If you want to understand how the world is being, it's hanging on nothing. It's toile eretz al belima, on anything. But the Gemara explains it. Boil and piv, the one who is boil and piv b'shas mariva. And the Mefarshim explain that the idea is, it's very hard. A person could shut his mouth in the beginning. He's not starting a fight. But once he didn't have seichel, and he started. He said the word, he told them back, and he went on and he told them again, and he is saying back. And now in the middle he wants to stop, but I can't. I'm already in the fight, and I did already, and I said already, and he did me. Now I'm going to stay quiet, so people are going to think that he won, and I don't have what to tell him back, what to answer him. Then it's very hard. So that's the pshat boilam piv b'shas meriva, not before the meriva. Even it's already b'shas meriva, and he is being boilam. He is like making the brakes, the balamim. He had the brakes. Once a person said, when you want to buy a new car, when you test the car, you don't only test the car if it drives good. One of the main things is that you have to test if the brakes were good, if the balamim, because otherwise, when you have to make a short stop, it could happen. So a person, you don't only see he's taka emedaber, he has the power of talking, but he also have to have the koyach of boilim, to be boilim piv, and that's a gewaltige Sach. So I saw once a person explaining that's the pshat boilim pish b'shas meriva. That's toile eretz al belima. Belima is belima. He takes away the mem and the high. From the word mariva, if you take away the mem in the beginning and the high in the end, it's riv. The koyach is that even once you're in the middle, don't let it expand anymore. Just take away the mem high. Toile eretz al belima. That was what Avraham Avinu says to Lloyd. I don't want it should be a mariva beini beinecho. We have to separate one of the other. And the
why is it nekeva if it's bigger?
And a cave expands. She brings children. A cave refers to that when it expands, it's called the loshen nekeva. Loshen zocher is when it stays the same. That's riv and that's mariva. Yeah, very good that you asked this because I didn't tell it. I didn't say it. Now the pasuk says, "Vayivcha loy loit es kol." When they separated themselves, it says, "Vayisa loit mikedem, vayipardu ish me'al ochiv." And the next pasuk goes on, "Avram yoshav be'eretz Canaan, and loit yoshav ba'orei hakikar." So the Balatirim brings down an interesting Sefer Tevis. Vayipardu, they were separated. Ish me'al ochiv is Sefer Tevis. Shin lamed vov. Ish me'al ochiv. The next pasuk starts Avram. The Sefer Tevis is Mem. That's Shalom. Vayipardu. When they separated, that's when the Shalom became. Ish me'al ochiv. Avram Sefer Tevis is Shalom. Sometimes in order to be Shalom, you have to separate. Not always Shalom means you are able to be together. Sometimes the Shalom is to separate themselves, and that's how the Shalom could be. Ahron HaKohen, it says he was Oyev Shalom and Roidev Shalom. Usually we would say he was like chasing after Shalom. But some explain Roidev Shalom, sometimes he was like separating between the people, and that was the Shalom that he meant. It didn't let those two to be together. If he saw those two together, it's how do you call it? It's a matkon. It's an ingredient. It's ingredient for a fight. He was separating. He was roidefing the shalom. He didn't let them be together, so the shalom should stay. Sometimes, like we say in the name of the Havis Esul from Vishnitz, he once said, "You have to be good to everyone, but not with everyone. You have to be toivel lekulam, avaloi im kulam." That means sometimes a person that can have a bad influence, so you don't have to be mamish together with him. You have to be good to him, but you don't have to be together with him. So over here we see that shalom could sometimes be when it's vayipardu, then it's ishma alochiv avram. That was when the shalom came. Going back to more of the beginning of the parsha, that when Avraham Avinu is going to Mitzrayim, it says in Pasuk, "Vahi kasher hikriv lovoi Mitzrayimo." Avraham Avinu was on his way, entering Mitzrayim. He was getting close to Mitzrayim. So I saw once one of the Sfarim Magdashim say a gewaltige Zach. Why does it say Mitzrayimo? Why not lovoi Mitzrayim? So he explains that the Medrash says, why is Mitzrayim called Mitzrayim? The word Mitzrayim starts with an open mem, a mem psucha, and it finishes with a mem stuma, a closed mem. He had the word Mitzrayim, showing that in Mitzrayim there was only one way in, there was no way out. Because it was with so many kishiv, you weren't able to escape from Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim was a mem psucha, you could get in, but no way out, you could get out. When you want to go out, it was closed. Avraham Avinu made Masa of a Simon Lebonim. Whatever he did now was a Simon what's going to be happening afterwards for Klal Yisrael. And that's why Hashem made all of the Makos on Paroi. Vayanaga Hashem as base Paroi. Rashi explains it was a Simon for the Makos that are going to be coming afterwards for Klal Yisrael. And when he went out, Avram hated Ba'avira. He had a lot of Ahilot Tzoyne, but that was a Rebbe's under the Chizuk when he comes out from Mitzrayim. So that's why it says over here, Mitzrayim Mo. So it has a mem psucha also by the end, that when Avram came down to Mitzrayim, he was making now masa of a simon lebanim that they should be able to go out. Look, I'm going in with Sarai, and I'm going to be going out with her, and she won't be even touched. No one is going to damage, do anything bad to her. We're just going to be Adrabah going out with her, the Chish Gadol. So the Hikash Hikriv Lovei Mitzrayim Mo, not Mitzrayim, teaching us that even when he's going in, but he's going to be going out the same way. Now it says, as we said before, when he left Mitzrayim, he had a lot of goods with him. Yeah, it says in the pasuk over there that Ila Avram Heitiv Ba'avira, that Paro, he gave him a lot of goods because of Sarai, Tzoin, Bokor, Chamoirim. The Gemara goes and says in Masechta Bava Metzia that a person should be very zahir. How do you say zahir in careful? Person should be very careful to be mechabed his wife. Why? Because the brocha in the house, the brocha of Parnasa, is b'schus the wife, b'schus ha'isha. Like we see in Pasik, Ila Avram Heitiv Ba'avura. The reason why Avram had all of the goods was in her schus. According to the Gemara, we could learn that Heitiv refers to Hashem, because Avram Avinu understood that whatever he is getting from anyone is what he is getting from Hashem. So Ila Avram Heitiv, Hashem gave him all the goods, Ba'avura, in the schus of Avram Avinu, of Sarah Yemeinu. In her schus, you have to be Zohar B'Kvoid Ishtoi. I saw ones that the Ben Ish Chai brings in one of his forum. The two people came once to a Rebbe, and they were asking for advice. They should be matzliach, to be matzliach in Parnasa. They should have good Parnasa. One of them, the Rebbe gave him advice. Try to write down and give a maaser. From wherever you earn, you give a tenth for tzedakah. And the pasuk says, Aser ta'aser, and Chazal teach us, Aser b'shvil shittas asher. You give maaser, you're going to become rich. I'm just going away for a second because it has shaykh to this week's Parashat. The Medrash explains, if you give a maaser, the Noam Melech also says it in Parashat Tzurei, Barichis, if you give a maaser, the Kedushas Levi. If you give Maser, let's say you earn this year 1,000, and you give Maser 100, Hashem is going to help that next year your Maser is going to be 1,000. You're going to be making 10,000, and the Maser is going to be 1,000. Now, when you give Maser 1,000 because you earn 10,000, the next year you're going to be making 100,000, and the Maser is going to be 10,000. Aser to Aser, they explain, if you give Maser, so Hashem is going to help that next year, ta'aseh eskol tevu azarecha. Like this, the pasuk says, aser ta'aseh eskol tevu azarecha. Aser, if you give ma'aser, next year, what the whole field gave out this year is going to be next year the ma'aser. Ta'aseh, you know what's going to be your ma'aser next year? Eskol tevu azarecha. What you have this year in the whole field, in the whole soda, that's going to be your ma'aser next year. So they bring a lot of Ramazim. That's how it works. If you give erlich, you give punctual, you give ma'aser, Hashem is going to give you 10 times. So they say in the name of the Apterov, of the Oyev Yisrael, that he also did Meramis in this week's Parsha, that when Avraham Avinu is telling Loit, he should separate from him, he tells him like this, Ima smoil va'ayemino, v'ima yomin va'asmi'ilo. He says like this. We said before this chaylik, that when you give Maser, Hashem gives you 10 times more. And the opposite way, there's also a Toysvis and Masechtes Tainis. Toysvis brings down a medrash that a person once gave tzavoah for his children. When he wrote them a will, he told them, remember to give Maser, and if not, business won't be going good. And Toysvis goes down, that this person at the beginning, he used to make $10,000 like from his field, and he wasn't much watching to give Maisa correct. He didn't give. The year afterwards, instead of making 10,000, he only made 1,000, and he still didn't chap. And the year later, he only made 100, because on the opposite, if you don't give Maisa, Hashem says in that case, you're going to only be making a tenth less. What you were supposed to give Maisa, that's what you're going to be only earning. So the Aptrov says like this: Oisher is with a Shein, so the Nekuda of the Shein is on the right side. Maser, Eser, is also a Shein, but it's on the left side. It says like this: Imasmoil, if you're going to be doing Aseir on the left side of the Shu and the Nekide of the Shein, so then Hashem says, V'ayamina, I'm going to be putting it on the right side, the Shein, it's going to be Oishe, you're going to become rich. But v'im you're going to think, I want to stay rich, I should give away so much money, I want it to stay by me. You're going to think that you are going to be earning more by leaving the money by yourselves, that the Eser, that the Shein should be on the right side. So then Vasamila, Chaz v'sholom, you'll only be making a tenth, and Hashem is going to say, in that case, I'm only giving you a tenth, that what you were used to make, and you can only get the Meiser of your field. Now, let's go back to the story of the Ben Ish Chai, and we're going to finish with that. So he gave him this Eitzah to give Meiser, and he's going to see a lot of brocha and atzlocha, he's going to make a lot of money. And that was what he did, he was very much liach. Another person came to this Rebbe, and the Rebbe told him, I have a good Eitzah for you. Chazal say that a person should be zohar careful b'chvoid ishtoi, because the brocha in the house is only b'schus ha'isha. Go ahead and start buying for your wife nice jewelry, good stuff, be a mechabit, and in that way you're going to be making a lot of money, you're going to see a lot of brocha. And that was what he did, and he saw a lot of brocha. He was very, very matzliach. After a while, those two Yidden met up one with the other, and they were talking about, and someone told I was once by the Rebbe, and he gave me a eitzah. I should be zohar b'kvoid ishtoi, and since then, whenever I buy something for my wife, and Baruch Hashem, I see a lot of brocha in my parnas. And the other one says, wow, he gave another eitzah to give meiser. And then the person that he got the eitzah from giving meiser came up to the Rebbe and I said, Rebbe, why didn't you give me this eitzah? Like this, I wouldn't have to give away any money. All of the money, I would be able, it should stay by me. It would stay in the family, and my wife would have nice jewelry. Why didn't you give me this eitzah like you gave for the other person? And the Rabbi tells him, the Rav tells him, it's not the same, Because actually, if you look on the Olam Hazeh, he also has a lot of broch in Parnasa. But after 120, Olam Habe, he bought for his wife nice things, is very good, but it's not the same like giving Maaseh for tzedakah. In that way, you're earning such big mitzvahs. Much so that's why if I gave you this eitzah, you should be more happy than the other one. And the other person probably understood that he won't accept the eitzah of Maaseh. But I gave a better idea by telling you to give Maaseh. And he went on and explained to him, there's a pasuk in Tehillim, Al tira ki yasher ish ki yirbe kevoid beisoy ki loy vemoiso yikach hakoil lo yered achrav kevoidoi. Beisoy, we know, refers to the wife. Beisoy zi ishtoi. So David HaMelech tells us, Al tira, don't be afraid. Ki yasher ish, when you see a person is becoming rich, you know why? Ki yirbe kevoid beisoy, because he's doing a lot of kvoid ishtoi. He's being marbe b'kvoid ishtoi, and in that case he has a lot of parnasa. You know why you shouldn't be afraid? You shouldn't be jealous of such a person. Kiloi v'moiso yikach hakoil. Those things you won't take along after he's going away. Lo yered achrav kvoidoi. But the person who becomes ashiris because he gives him ma'aser, that you take along with yourself after 120, and this bagleits you, this comes with you as being melava you after 120. So we should all be zoiche to have parnasa toive barchove. We should be careful b'chvoid ishtoi, and we should also give ma'aser. We can do both of them. Yirei shemayim yoytzi yedei shneihem. You can do both of them. They have a lot of success in atzloch and siyata deshbaya with the children, nachas of the children, and all the best, whatever we need. Hashem should be memala. Amen. Thank you. Shkoyach.